Main Talk. Let's talk about hair. It's not your average conversation. It's not your average conversation about hair. Happy Monday, everybody. Happy Monday. It is May the 24th, and we are at our season finale of Main Talk. Wow, what a season it has been. We have talked about everything as it relates to hair, and you guys have really been jumping in, especially the episode about why am I losing my hair in my 50s. I think we provided some good information from the doctors on the doctor's edition, and we learned a lot. But tonight, y'all, you know, I always like to do a big on the season finale, and I see y'all are starting to come in here. I was having a conversation with my old roommate from college, and she was in California. She was looking for Nuratress hair products in the beauty supply store. She said she was walking around the Korean beauty supply store, holding her phone, trying to conduct business, trying to multitask as we all have done or learned how to do during the pandemic. And the store owner and employees kept following her around the store, asking her, is she going to buy something? After she left the store, she gave me a call and was like, hey, Deshaun, you need to do something. It's like, you're smart. You need to do something. I was like, I don't need to do anything. Trust me. There are people out here that God created that is here on this earth that are doing some things as it relates to this topic. And I am going to make a call because he is my friend personally. Then I found out he was my Scorpio brother. I was like, oh my God, no wonder he does what he does. And so I wanted to have a show to talk about why is it important for us to support Black-owned beauty supply stores. Many of you guys may not know that there are many. I see you guys coming in with the comments. There are many Black-owned beauty supply stores, and even one in particular in my area that is gorgeous. I'm gonna give a shout out to her store now, Kova Beauty Supply. I mean, this should be the model of what a beauty supply store should look like. I call it like a Black Sephora. But yet and still, we still go to the Korean beauty supply stores because it's convenient. It's there on every corner, but they just treat us any kind of way. But tonight, guys, we're going to have an interesting conversation with my brother. I call him my brother, Professor Devin, as many call him, Professor Devin Robinson. I'm just going to give you a little bit of his background. He's known to many as Professor Devin and is a business and economics professor and an author of 8, not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 8 self-help books. His latest book is Power, MOVE, How to Become a Successful Entrepreneur. Now, when he starts talking, you will know this part of it. He was born and raised in St. Thomas, Virgin Islands. But in 2012, Professor Devin founded the Urban Business Institute to assist urban entrepreneurs develop their ideas and improve their businesses through the company's Smart Business Academy. To date, Professor Devin has opened over 125 Black-owned storefronts and has generated over 15 million in revenues for urban communities. He continues to serve as a CEO and program director for the Beauty Supply Institute and the Urban Business Institute. And so I'm going to bring him on. He has invited me to come to speak at several of his events where I was honored to come. So I'm going to bring him on to Main Talk, and y'all just give him a round of applause, a virtual round of applause. Hey, Professor Devin.
Hi, my sister. How you doing? Thanks for having me on the program.
No problem. Let's have this conversation. Our show is only 30 minutes. And so let's have this conversation based on what my roommate went through. You know, I've heard your story, similar stories about you going around and having a similar issue in the beauty supply store. So tell us how you jumped in to all of this. You know, but first, before you answer that, you know, I found out about you when Michael Baisden was on. I mean, I used to listen to Michael Baisden faithfully, and you were always on talking about how, you know, taking back the Black beauty industry. So now why don't you go in and talk about why you started all of this?
Yeah, so I owned a barbershop and salon. I'm not a cosmetologist. Investments, I have businesses. I was in real estate. I have a lot of different businesses. To date, I own 11 businesses. Um, and I went to shop for products because I wanted to set up a little section in my salon. It was a friend of mine that brought the idea to me. He's an actual stylist. So he asked me to borrow the money to open the shop. But him and I grew up like brothers, right next door neighbors. And I said, I know how business can be. Let's keep this relationship. I tell you what, I'll open the business. You don't pay booth rent. You manage it. You run it. And when you get your footing and funds together, I'll sell it to you, owner financing. He agreed. And one of the days I was there, he was running the shop. I did the admin stuff behind the scenes, and I saw my stylist constantly going out and bringing bags into the shop to style their clients. So I started thinking, like, you know what? Maybe I should go out and buy like bulk orders, set up an entire section, a retail section in my shop, just so they can have the products and the clients can get some supplies when they're there as well. Very small situation I was trying to set up. So I went to the neighborhood beauty supply store. Exact same thing. This guy, older Korean guy, grabbed a golf club, followed me around the store. I wasn't ever in there before. Obviously, I didn't frequent the stores, and he threatened me, and I was prepared to spend a few $1,000s that day, and it just upset me, offended me. And I left peacefully, but it stayed in the back of my mind. Like, is this an issue in this community? I'm still thinking small now. I'm still just thinking this is just happening in this community. I'm not aware of the real takeover, right? So I just went back to my shop. It was a brand new building. I was one of the first tenants there, and it had a vacant space next door. So I said, I'm gonna just open my own beauty supply. That would be another business I'll expand into. And I called them up and I secured the space that same day, gave them the money. And then I went in the shop and I'm like, all right, so how do you do this now? You know what I'm saying? So I started to research to figure it out. And that's when I got the rude awakening that this lockout and these hurdles exist. And I was like, wow. So I'm gonna just back it up. Beauty Supply Institute would have never existed had I known about the industry,
Okay.
because I would have probably said, "Oh, this is too much of a monster to tackle. I'm not getting into that. The Koreans dominate this thing. I'm not doing that." But my ignorance made me feel that, well, I'm a good businessman. I got money. I can just open a shop. So I signed the lease. By the time I realized the challenges in the industry, the 5-year lease was already signed. I had to go through with it. So I stomached my way through it, and I figured some things out, figured out how things work. One of the things that I had in my favor, I tell people, I served in the U.S. Army, and while I was in there, I had a hardship tour in Korea, and I hated being over there. I hated the food, the smell of the place. I just hated everything, and the Koreans hated us too. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So
Hmm.
but the funny thing is that was in 1995, and my first beauty supply store opened in 2005. 10 years later, I'm facing Koreans that don't want to give me products, and I reflected back on my time in Korea. I said, wait a minute, I know their customs, I know their language, I know some things, and I dug in and I started telling them about the places I've been in Korea and the foods and how much I love the food and the drinks and all that stuff. And it their guard came down and they started giving me accounts and letting me in. Some of them befriended me. I'm still friends with some of them now, and they gave me some of the trade secrets. And then my store was born, and I just became successful at it. Within a year and a half, I had 3 locations. Actually, next week we're opening the 173rd location.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and
173. So when you say
173
173 locations, meaning other black owned beauty
Yes,
supply
other black-owned
stores.
store. Yes, and by the end of the year, we'll be well over 200. And I got in. When I had my store, what happened was a lot of people would come to me asking me for help. And prior to that, I wrote books. I'm an official business and economics professor. I used to teach at Oglethorpe University in Atlanta. Um, so I knew how to write books and curriculum and stuff, and I kind of stumbled into this whole thing that I'm going to write books to help people with the stores. And the more I did that, the more they wanted. I started the conferences and I started the institute, and everything was just born. And next thing you know, I'm like leading this charge on, you know, opening beauty supply stores, and our institute is highly successful. Then I got into the funding part 3 years ago, so I'm a certified business loan broker. Now we've been doing six figures a week in loans to beauty
Wow.
supply owners. We've been
Wow.
doing that consistently over the past year, even during COVID. Um, so it really had skyrocketed how fast we're getting stores open and how fast we can get the funds into the hand of people, because that was an issue that was also a challenge when I was doing the stores. People just didn't have the funds, and that was an issue. So I decided to do that. So now I own two funding groups. That's two of my 11 businesses. And we're just doing loans. I can do loans for franchises, Chick-fil-A, McDonald's, the big boys.
Wow.
But my focus is um, urban entrepreneurs. So we're doing restaurants, beauty supply stores, you name it. And
Wow.
that's just been a synopsis of my story,
Just a
summary.
well, listen, a synopsis. So let's move on, because we're gonna get back to the story, because we got to talk about these individual stores. But let's talk about how much is generated in the Black hair care industry. I think before we came on, I had some numbers that were wrong. I think I said it was about 2.5 billion. But tell us, how much is the Black hair care business worth
Yeah, it's a
now,
15
2020
billion
20?
dollar industry annually. So we're talking roughly $750 million per week is
Wow.
generating
So
is
okay,
generated in
so
this
say,
industry.
say that again. Let's repeat those numbers. Okay,
Yeah,
so you said it's how much again?
a $15 billion industry.
$15 billion industry. And how
Yes,
much is
and
it per week?
average $750 million per week
Seven
goes
hundred.
into our products.
Listen, y'all. 15,750,000,000 per week
Yep,
is how much we are spending. And so how much are we getting, meaning African Americans? What is the lion's share? What are we getting?
3%. So it's about 3% of the owners. 40% of them we actually opened or assisted in opening. The one that you named, Culver, that's actually one of our clients. We opened that store as well. Um, so it's we have a strong foothold in getting these stores open. There's only 3% ownership. 96% of the dollars are generated by African Americans in the ethnic market, and only 3% of us actually own the stores. So this is a huge takeover, like a siphoning of the black dollar from our community by way of the beauty supply stores.
But do you know? But do you think it's so? So how do we? How do we? For those who are watching, a lot of people will watch this on the replay. How do we get in? Because you've been preaching this for a long time. It's kind of like how I've been preaching in the salon industry. Like, are you running a business or just doing hair? And now I'm relaunching the book. Are you running a business or still just doing hair 2 decades later? I'll be launching that in August. How do we get the word across that it is important, with all of the money that we're spending, 700 something $million, however, $7 million a week. What did you say? How much? 7 million?
750 million.
750 million a week.
Mm-hmm.
How can we redirect our dollars? How important is it? How can we get this in our psyche that I am not going to go in the beauty supply store just because it's right here. They treat us any kind of way. How important is it for us to Google Black owned beauty supply store near me and drive to that location and support them? How important is that for the psyche,
Man,
for our community?
I just love how you present that question and that thought, because the passion behind what you're saying is so important. I mean, it even shook me up a little bit. Like, it is important, people. Like, it is important. So it's beyond saying, oh, we just have businesses, or it's beyond saying, we got products, and it's such a bigger issue when it comes to supporting this business. And it's an issue for us to own businesses, period. But this one is so major because of the lopsidedness with it.
Right.
And you got to think about this. The owners of these businesses, who are largely Arabs or Koreans, do not live in and amongst Black people. So
Correct.
they drive into our community, get our monies, and take it to their community. They take it to their community, they take it to their banks. The tax revenues that they're paying, their house, their home ownership taxes, and all that stuff is in an entire different community. So to leave our communities deplorable, right? And in addition to that, I was talking to someone at a conference this past weekend, and I was explaining to them the whole concept of convicted felons, right? So we have this concept of convicted felons, that you don't want a convicted felony yeah, a felony conviction, because your life is going to be limited after you get that, right? Well, that concept was created in the early 20th century when they had the black codes, and they were just, throwing charges up against black people for any little thing, loitering, not having a job, that kind of stuff, right? Homelessness, you would get felonies for that. Well, what they did was they relegate us to poverty, because once you have this convicted felon, you can't get a job, or you're going to be in and out of prison. The recidivism rate is going to be high, or you're going to just uh, opt to be an entrepreneur. But then we have those problems with the underfunding, the lack of education, that kind of stuff, right? So
Right.
here's the bigger thing that I'm talking about. Once we own these stores, once we own these businesses, we don't have to worry about who we hire in our businesses, because I have convicted felons working for me right now. And
Correct.
those convicted felons, I don't care what their felony conviction is, because you think about stuff like a DUI, or a 19-year-old who made a mistake and punched someone, got an aggravated assault or whatever. And if we don't control the jobs, we don't control our community. And I tell people all the time that we talk about having our spending power, but spending power is nothing without payroll power. So just on that level, it's very, very important.
Now listen, repeat that again. Spending power is nothing without what kind of power?
Payroll power. The
Pay.
payroll power is largely important, because if we don't have payroll power, we really have no power, because that spending power that we have is really controlled by those who pay us. So if
Correct.
we don't support our businesses, and then we can't hire each other or hire ourselves, what we're going to have is businesses that are in control of our community. And just think about it, white people overnight just decide to go out and fire all black people. What's going to happen? Then we have no jobs, and we have no opportunity to support ourselves.
And so what should be the message that we should give to our community for those who feel like, and I've been there, except for Kova, her store is laid out. But we have some black owned beauty supply stores who really don't have everything. It's like you go into the Korean beauty supply stores, they have every brand of hair, they have every brand of product, they have everything. And so the biggest complaint that most people have is why they don't support black owned beauty supply stores. It seems as though they don't have enough of everything. And I know now with more brands like myself, I'm older, but a lot of these newbies, these bloggers coming out with, the Main Choice, the Maya, some of these brands, Camille Rose, these natural hair brands have really, came in and made some money in the industry to put their products on the shelves of these black stores, but still they don't have simple little things that someone may be looking for. What do we say to those people? How do we overcome that?
So here's the thing. It's like going to war, right? Lives have to be sacrificed in order to achieve the bigger picture. And when I talk about sacrifice in this sense, I'm talking about we may have to stomach higher prices, getting products that may not be in stock on the shelves of these stores. We may have to stomach some of that inconvenience, right? In order for them to have the volume so they can benefit from the economies of scale, so their prices can come down, so that they can be able to expand their inventory line and get the products that many of the other stores have. That's what really the issue is. It's like the black bank. I tell people, yeah, you can't compare our limited amount, I think it's 14 black banks left in the country, with a Bank of America or a Chase. Their technology is going to be better and more convenient. They're going to have more ATMs. But the more we go to them, the less business the black banks get. So
Correct.
some of us are going to have to lead the charge and say, you know what? I don't mind having a convenience. It's like the thinking of the civil rights movement, the Montgomery bus boycott. They didn't mind walking in order to get the bigger picture, right? So some of us have to walk. Some of us are going to have to stomach the inconvenience and not just shun the black business and say, oh, your prices are too high, or you don't have this in stock. We're going to have to fall on the sword and say, look, I'm gonna take the inconvenience and follow this, support this business until it gets to the point where it can be as competitive as the Korean stores.
And so what is it as it relates to, speaking of Korean beauty supply stores, I've sold my products through Korean beauty supply store distribution. And I must admit, it was very hard. It's like they nickel and dime you for everything. We're trying to sell the products to our consumers at a price that's reasonable so that they can afford. However, they nickel and dime you for every little charge. And so, although we think that we're doing something volume wise, I know for me personally with the product line, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like any of that, but I kind of felt like I needed to succumb to what they were doing in order to do what I wanted to do. But
Right.
COVID-19 allowed me to really rethink it because we were all forced online, which was my original plan. And
Right.
we were really, hitting really, really hard. Why do you think it is hard for the Koreans to give Black stores accounts? Why is it? Why is it?
Well, what they're doing is they're trying to allow the retailers, because they strategic thinking, right? So not because they're just a distributor, they're going to say, I'm going to sell to anybody who comes to us so that we can maximize the amount of money we make. That's not how they think. They think we're going to make our money and ensure that our Korean community is sustainable. So what they're doing is ensuring that their retailers, the Korean retailers, are able to secure their market share in a certain area and will not sell to you if you're anywhere near those businesses because they don't want you to be able to compete with them. So
But
that's
they're
one of the,
everywhere. But they're
yeah,
everywhere.
exactly. So, but that was the thing. So my store, as I said earlier, was in a brand new shopping center. That brand new shopping center was a new area of Atlanta that the Koreans didn't have stores yet. So I was able to get these accounts. And as I opened other stores, I started just ordering from that for that same store, and I would just transfer them to my other stores, not trying to go through the headache of ordering other, uh, setting up other accounts because those stores were around Koreans. So those are some of the strategic things we have to do, but that's how they're focused, right? They're focused on making sure that that's what they're doing, and then in addition to that, one of our sisters in the movement, name is Lucky. She have the styling equipment, Kazuri irons. She went through a massive issue with them as well, where she was selling to them, and what they started to do was copy the style of her irons, and came up with almost identical looking irons and started selling them for a whole lot cheaper. And they stopped ordering her irons to put in their store. So the black community, we tend to be a kumbaya community. We would let other races come in and be friends, and we open the playbook and show them our stuff because we're thinking we're building relationships. But these other communities don't think like that. Excuse me. They're strategic, right? So they're gonna do things to ensure this survivability and sustainability of their community. They're not looking at each individual making a whole bunch of money because then each distributor wouldn't care and they would try to make all their money. They're looking at their community as a whole, and that's how they function. So they make those kind of moves to make sure that they're straight. Meanwhile, we're not doing the same thing.
Okay, so let's talk about. We have about 7 more minutes left. There are people that are watching. People are commenting. I'm gonna bring them up, but let me just bring up what Tanya said. She says, "I'm sorry to say that I have not done my research to find Black beauty supply stores in my area. I have to do better." Yes, Tanya, we all have to do better. And Belinda said, "Yes, we need payroll power." Exactly, exactly. So, how are you with what you have done with the Beauty Supply Institute? We know you have the training, but how are you able to get, when you say open up stores, is uh what are you doing as it relates to helping them open up a store, finding their POS system, and how are you able to get them the products that they need? Have you created relationships? I know you said earlier you have relationships. Is this what
Yes.
you're doing to help them get the products in their stores? And then part two, are you helping them come together so that they can buy greater? You see what I'm saying? To be able to get
Yeah.
the price at a good point.
Right. So this, I'll say the second part first, because the second part is a shorter answer. They don't have to come together necessarily because of the first part of the answer. I'm using my relationships. So what I'm doing is these relationships of distributors and stuff that I've had for over 15 years. When clients come to us to get open, we don't just send them out there. We set up their accounts. So we call these vendors that we've been using for all these years, 16, 17 years, and get their accounts set up. So they understand that they're part of the Beauty Supply Institute family. We get the right pricing. We go through the invoices. We set up everything for them. So by the time we hand them their keys and they're open, these distributors and everything already know who they are and they're treated fairly. So that's kind of how we're doing it. So we have, from our online school, the consulting training that we do, we find the locations for you so we know what's the best locations to have. We design the store for you. We have partnerships with our point of sale system. So we put the point of sale system in there for you. We load all your products in there for you, prices, everything, build out everything for you. So my team travels across the country setting up these stores for our clients. And it's kind of like a business in a box. We set up everything for them, hand it to them, and then we break down, these are your distributors, this is how you contact them, this is how everything works. Now, for the hair, we have what's called the hair network. So when we set up businesses, we help them get their actual accounts for the top brand products, the harder ones to get, the Shake and Go and Sensational, Outre, that kind of stuff. And then they allow us to buy in bulk from them and move it through our hair network to the stores that are now coming. So
Okay.
they are able to open their doors with the premium products using someone else's account until they can get their own account and then they continue going. Because one of the toughest things that they have is they don't give you an account for these premium products until you're in business. But that's a catch 22. You want to have the grand opening with the products. So, it's kind of like a suppression move where they'll make you open and then tell you, oh, you will get you the products. And then you're in business for 6, 8 months, a year at a time. And you can never get these accounts. That happened to me with my first store. So once I
Yeah.
figured out this gimmick, and I'm like, nah, that's back, like that's wrong. You know what I'm saying? We created a mechanism where we can get the products in the store for our clients.
So Professor Devin, thank you for coming on so much and talking about this. So if somebody wanted to open up a black owned beauty supply store,
Mm-hmm.
how do they reach out? How do they reach out to you? I want to put, is it, do they go to the, what's the website?
BeautySupplyInstitute.com.
Okay, so let me put this out. The beautysupplyinstitute.com,
Yeah,
guys.
just BeautySupplyInstitute.com. Just the name of the company, BeautySupplyInstitute.com. Everything's there. From we do your business plans, we get you the funding, you can join our academy, or we can go straight in and open your stores for you. And you'll see pictures of all our stores. We just opened a store in Alaska. That was our first store there in Anchorage. We actually opened it on a military base, which was tough to get done, but that was the best place for it. A lot of blacks are in the military there, and we did that. And we just got stores all across the country. I think it's something like only 13 states that we're not in. I think it's 13. We're everywhere else with stores.
So should they go to the Beauty Supply Institute to even find all the stores that you've opened?
Yeah, you could go to the website and you'll see the directory of all our stores. Or you could go to our YouTube page, the videos of the owners. They have testimonies there talking about their experience and stuff. We put that on our YouTube page as well. You could just search YouTube Beauty Supply Institute review or Beauty Supply Institute testimony, and you'll see that information there as well.
Okay, guys. So just to recap, he said that the black hair care industry is a $15 billion industry. 15 billion, and how much is spent per week?
750 million per week.
I want to just say 7 million or 75 million because it just don't seem real. 750 million, guys, is spent per week. And I know that there was a study in Mintel that said that the number one spend in the African American household outside of their rent and all of that is hair care. And we're
Yes.
spending so much money. So let's take the okay, there it goes. We're back. We back. Rita said, that's awesome. I would have to research the black owned beauty supply stores in my area. And then Belinda, I guess she had a question, said, what is the strategy to not just open, but just to stay open? Can you talk on that before, as we close out?
I love that one because that's our motto. Getting you in business, keeping you in business. That's our motto on our website. So, that's a deeper question to answer, a longer question to answer. But all I can say is we have the strategies to keep your customers coming back. And our conference is on this year. Actually, if I could say this real quickly,
Yes.
our conference, this year is the 100th year of the Black Wall Street Massacre. It happened 1921. Our conference, we have an annual conference. Our summer conference will be in Tulsa, Oklahoma, at the Greenwood Memorial for the 100-year anniversary. We've been working on this for the past 2 years, trying to get them to allow us to have the conference there, and we were finally able to secure it. So we will be commemorating the 100th year of the Black Wall Street Massacre, doing the Taking It Back for the Black beauty supply industry in Tulsa, Oklahoma, July 10th and 11th of this year.
Oh, that's coming up.
It's coming up really quickly.
Oh, man, you are not playing. Well, I thank you, Professor Devin, for taking the time out. We know that, at least I know that you are everywhere, that you're very busy. And I'm always honored when you ask me to participate in something. And this conversation, I knew that the only person that I could have this conversation with would be you. So, guys, please, when you get off of this, when you share this video and people are watching, make sure, go to the Beauty Supply Institute that's scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Make sure you tell your friends and your family that today I'm going to change my mindset and I'm going to, on purpose, find a Black-owned beauty supply store. Professor Devin, I've gone so far to tell people, if you don't have a Black-owned beauty supply store near you, go to JCPenney's. I don't know. Just
order online.
Exactly. Order
right.
online. Tanya said, Thank you for sharing the information. Professor Devin, thank you again so much for being a part of Main Talk, our season finale. Guys, this is our season finale, so we won't be back next week. But of course, we will keep y'all abreast of when we coming back for the next season. Have a great summer. I guess I'll see you around.
Yeah,
I'll see you around.
It's such an honor to be here. It was a pleasure being here. Talking to you always feels like 30 seconds.
I know it's been 30 minutes. I know, but everybody's chiming in saying thank you for the information. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
Go to the Beauty Supply Institute, guys. Go out there, share this information. Let's support our Black-owned beauty supply stores. The comments is just steady coming in. She said, I will find one. Somebody said, I only shop Black. Okay, y'all. Okay, now y'all want to talk when it's time for us to go. But we got to get out of here. See y'all next season. Thank you, Professor Devin.
Thanks for having me.
Main Talk. Let's talk about hair. It's not your average conversation. It's not your average conversation about hair. You don't know like I know how to cut it, clip it, snip it, flip it, whip it, twist it, curl it, twirl it. Whip it, girl, whip it hard when you show it our hair. Blow it, grow it, wrap it, snap it, weave it, lock it, braid it. Girl, you can wave it, shade it. Just make sure that you save it. I'm